All right. Thanks everybody for already waiting and coming in. Tom, for the comments. Yeah, I look okay for an Alabama fan living in the great state of Tennessee. I'll take that backhanded compliment. Let me hook up my computer real quick. I forgot to plug it in. All right, there we go. So we are almost into August and a lot of bee work going on right now. Everything that we're doing right now is going to impact how much honey we make next year, how strong the bees are, evaluating queens, crushing mites, feeding bees that need it. Some of the colonies are heavy and don't need quite as much, but we'll still give them a little bit. A little trickle here and there is good for them. And I hope you all are having a good season. I know some people are pulling honey. Some folks are already done extracting, and some folks have yet to pull it depending on where you're from. All right. And here they come rolling in. Hey, Be Original Tennessee Tim. I heard that you saw Greg Burns down there in Columbia, Tennessee, and a few other guys. Sounded like a fun time. I was invited. I just couldn't make it, but I wish I was there. I'm sure that was fun. Hey, Zelma Bees. Good to see you on again. And Cody Walker, Steinthal Valley Honey. So many of you all. Hope you all are doing really good. We've got a lot of stuff to talk about. Of course, your questions primarily, if you have any. And also like to see how you are doing in your location. Chopped liver around here. Ooh, were you fishing with that Lawson's Creek? I hear you can catch catfish with that kind of stuff. So, one thing that I've got to say real fast is towards the beginning of September, we're going to have a massive giveaway. I have over 10 companies that are going to be giving away product from their companies as a thank you to you all for subscribing to our channel and being a part of it. We're going to be hitting 50,000 subscribers very soon. And you all have just made things so crazy for us in good ways. And there's been so many awesome relationships that have been built through the community that we have now. We've been able to help the industry a little bit. And it's not really anything that I've personally done per se half the time. It's just being able to connect the dots between the folks that are building equipment and the beekeepers and make sure that everybody's on the same page. So a lot of great things have happened because of that. And what I'm going to have to give away, I don't have everything lined up just yet on what the specific product is going to be, but I can tell you it's going to be probably around $5,000 worth of giveaways. There's going to be 2 extractors, several hive kits, Apame equipment. There's going to be supplements. There's going to be hot knives and uncapping tanks. There's going to be foundation. There's going to be frames, and there's going to be books, and there's going to be all kinds of crazy things like vaporizers and gift cards. So make sure you don't miss out on that. Obviously, I'll be talking about that in a live chat before it happens. There will be a featured video towards either the end of the month, more likely the first week of September, and you'll just put your name down below, and we'll do a bunch of randomized giveaways, and then we'll contact you and all that kind of stuff. So be on the lookout. You may even win an extractor. That would be pretty sweet. And I believe it's an 18 frame, if I'm not mistaken. And then the other one's a 9 frame. No, 18 and 6. 18 and 6. That's what it is. Hell Hives, Kamon, did you find a label vendor for Hive Life Conference? So I am in talks with a company right now. I'm not sure they're going to fit the bill, Hell Hives, but we are totally open to all kinds of creative ideas. I've been on the phone. We took a vacation weekend and earlier this week, and I have been on the phone for about 2 days solid over this conference and trying to get things lined up. So, anyways, yeah, if you got anybody in mind, let me know. Now, so Loma Vista Bee says, Cayman, any updates on Canadian rocket fuel? And I'm feeding it now. So I don't have any like results yet. I really wanted to wait till we were a good ways into our dearth and not at the beginning. I wanted to wait until August when we were really, really in the thick of it. And that way we can more easily, I think, determine positive gains from it. So I don't really have any conclusions yet. I do have a pack of it right here. And Apis Biologics will be at our conference, and it is a supplement for sugar syrup, the only one out there that actually studies nectar and mimics nectar to the best of their ability. So I think that's just a good idea in general to always try to mimic what nature's doing to the best of our ability as beekeepers. I think a lot of people look at my videos and like, Kamon, you're defying nature. That's just a totally unnatural way to keep bees. I say fiddlesticks. The best stuff that we do always goes along with nature, nature's ideal side. Nature's pretty complex too. So when we feed, we're trying to emulate and mimic nature on its good side. So as beekeepers, there's nothing that we can do that completely defies nature. The closer we can get to it, the better off we are. And I'm hoping this will work out really good for me. I'm hoping to try some coming out of winter next year as well, and see if it's not just the eggnog talking when Ian says he likes the product. Pappy's Bees. Hey, Pappy's Bees. Have you heard of using windshield washer fluid for a mite wash? Um, it just jumped to me instead of alcohol. And I have heard of that. However, I don't think I'd recommend it. I'm sure it'll work, but what we found is even that with different concentrations of alcohol, there's some differences on efficiency. And some folks will say take 90% and water it down all the way down to like 4 parts water, 1 part 90% isopropyl alcohol, or however you say that. That's really too light. I really think the alcohol stronger is better. And a lot of people are switching to Dawn dish liquid, and I'm one of those people. And it's cheaper and it works really, really good. I believe, what is it, 1 tablespoon to 2 gallons or something like that? Somebody correct me on here. I cannot remember. Let me get rid of this gum. All right. Got to get back to some questions up top. Kamon checked 4 mating nukes yesterday, and none of the queens came back. 3 are already laying worker. What would you do in this situation? Yikes. I hate to hear that, Cody Walker. Well, if it's at that point, then you need to get those, shake those bees out, and they can come back to that colony, but supposedly laying workers cannot get back, fly back to the hive. And then you can paper combine that with a queen right colony. And that slow introduction will help. Goodness gracious. I actually harvested some sweet potatoes today, some really nice ones. Well, I say I harvested, Laurel did. Whoops. Got to give credit where credit's due. Hey, Tony Hill, thanks for saying that. We're trying our best. Yeah, Laurel's come in here giving me the eyes like I'm watching you. Came into Apagard tubs have a temperature ceiling. They really shouldn't be stored above room temperature. Of course, they can get outside for a while in some hotter weather, but you really need to store them at room temperature, and definitely just be careful with it. Using a high dose like 50 grams at 90 degrees or above, in my opinion, is just a little hot. I've done it before around 90, but anything really over 90, 50 grams is quite a bit. But as far as storage goes, I keep all of my treatments in my basement where it's actually pretty darn cool. And I just think it's a good idea. Okay, getting back to some questions. All right, people from all over the place: Wisconsin, Massachusetts. Still dry up there in Wisconsin. Well, we had about 5 weeks without rain, and now we are getting rain today, and we've probably had about 10 inches in the last month. Um, yeah, something like that in July. So I hope you guys get some of that rain. All right, Alabama, Ohio, everywhere. All right, I think I've caught up to the most of the upper questions. So as far as vendors go, I mean, we've got all kinds of vendors, Aussies, and all kinds of stuff. But yeah, for those of you who just trickled in, we're going to have a 50K subscriber giveaway beginning of September. Watch out. Extractors, multiple extractors, equipment, like fully souped out kits of like 2 deeps, frames, bottom boards, lids, super with it, and everything. uncapping knives, uncapping tanks, great bee books, all kinds of stuff. So we are going to have a crazy giveaway, probably pushing $5,000 stuff to give away. So don't miss that. I'll be doing multiple videos right beforehand, so you guys will have make sure you guys see it. But definitely watch out towards the ends of August and September. I'll be talking about that a lot more, and you can have a chance to win that stuff. Just try to give back a little bit and say thank you for all that you all have done for us, because we have been able to, it's not just affected me personally, which it has affected me personally a lot. It's given me a lot of opportunities to be able to deal with companies and bring about innovation that I never could have done by myself. We have our finger, we have our hand on the pulse of the industry right now. And we are talking to companies who are innovating for you guys. There's so many exciting things going on. And I really feel like a lot of it is due to the connection that the companies now have a little bit better with the individuals. And it's also thanks to Man Lake. I'm thinking Man Lake. Can you believe that? They have turned the industry upside down when they bought everything out and created a huge monopoly. They they opened and they raised prices so much, and they made things so much more expensive to buy, and they exposed their soft underbelly that they've created. And a lot of these smaller companies are looking at that, and they're going for it. They're attacking Man Lake, and Man Lake's not in a good spot right now because they're so darn expensive. And these companies go, "Wow, we can produce a high quality product, and as much as Man Lake's charging, we can compete with them and have a good quality product." So I really see a lot of innovation and change on the horizon. And speaking of which, I was on the phone with Thorn Manufacturing the other day, and of course, they have a full line of 20 frame deep, 36 frame extractors that are ready and shipping out. And I know he's got a few of those left. So, anyone who needs an extractor now, you can get that. And they're coming out with a smaller wax melter. So, for those of you who watched my video of my 24-gallon wax melter, it sounds like they're going to have one around 7 gallons. So it'll be more cost effective for beekeepers who don't need something quite so big, but you'll still have the technology of the double valve system and the screen, and that will be awesome. Okay, 43 years old on August 7th. All right, waiting at the gate. What's the latest you would do a walkaway split, Cayman? Well, I think a lot of it depends on your season, Keener, but I do think that it would be better to, if you're going to do it, get it done, because it is going to take so much time for that to come on back. I think it's I have this on a presentation somewhere. I just can't remember exactly, but I'm wanting to say it's 49 to 52 days from, yeah, 49 to 52 days from the time you make your walkaway split to the time your queen comes back, lays, and then her offspring emerges from the cell. So that means it's going to be almost 2 months until the colony starts growing again. And so that's a long time. So August, it'll be towards the end of September if you started now, before those bees start really getting things going. Now, if you were to do that with like a small 2 or 3 frame split, and then you have another colony that's bigger, you're wanting to requeen, maybe you do that on the side, and if it works out, you can requeen with that and combine them back together. But yeah, you gotta. It's pretty late in the season for a walk away, at least in North America. Unless you're in Hawaii, that's off the continent. All right, scrolling on down. All right, Cayman, if you've gotten these rains in the last week in Tennessee, it's rained almost daily for over a week, and suddenly bees are bringing in tons of pollen and not taking syrup, almost like a new flow. Tony Hill, we have gotten good rains, and we have gotten some pollen from it. It's really not enough to make massive brood rearing, but it helps big time. These summer rains can just really help this time of the year. And we're feeding a little bit of pollen patty as well. So between the pollen patty and that trickle of pollen coming in, that, it's really more than a trickle right now, which is surprising for me. and it's awesome. The bees are loving it. We're really working on keeping our mites low right now, and we've got a bunch of new queens from Corey Stevens. We're in pretty good shape right now. It's just a matter of making sure we get all these mites under control. All right, this thing jumped big time. Gosh darn it. Okay, I've got to say a huge thank you to Bigfoot American and to Zelma Bees. Thank you both so much, and I hope you leave some questions or comments or hey, even snide remarks at this point. We do really appreciate you all and hope that your bees are doing very good and they continue to do good. Oh, ding! Somebody just sent me a message. I need to turn this off. All right. One thing I wanted to share with you really quick, and I'm going to copy this so you can check it out. There's a guy that came to our Hive Life conference last year, and I'm going to leave the link in the comments. And he does all kinds of stuff like this right here. So isn't that pretty cool? Hive Life 2023. This is a prototype. He also sent me a few other odds and ends, some with leather engraving. This has got a really nice top to it. And he didn't ask me to do this. He reached out to me and just sent some prototypes just for me to try. And so I wanted to give him a little bit of a plug. It's got a straw all the way down in there. Of course, they're insulated, and he does everything from little wine insulated ones to giant half-gallon things and all kinds of stuff, hive tools, you name it. So Liberty Laser, I just left it all the way down at the bottom, and you can check that out if you need something for Christmas or Thanksgiving for somebody that you like. All right, let's get to it. Drought here in Massachusetts, man. Well, need to send you guys some rain. I'm hoping things are working out for Ian up there. I haven't watched a video of his for about a week and a half. All right, so Be Original Tennessee Tim question: would Swedish shop towels and OA vaporization together be overkill, considering hitting them two different methods? So this is where it goes into this is like illegal, okay? So technically, I should probably tell you, do not do that, you crazy, insane, bad person, you. However, I live in Tennessee. I was born an American. I like to think I can think for myself. Oxalic acid is way more gentle than a lot of the legal treatments that we have. And if you're using oxalic acid with oxalic acid, I don't see how that's a big deal, right? Um, Now, I actually legally can use oxalic acid sponges, and I am this year. Actually, Tuesday, I have our team from Columbia, Tennessee coming up and helping us get more mite sampling, another 15,000 bees to wash. But I would think that's not overkill. Um, and if it was, I would rather you do that, Tennessee Tim, than to do underkill, because that's what I see more often than not is people underkill the mites, and then the bees end up coming out of winter very weak or not at all. So that's just my personal opinion on that. The shop towels have also shown over time that, Randy Oliver has several different variations of deliveries, whether it was shop towels or whether it was Swedish sponges. And I know that he's fine tuning that. But one thing that has been pretty clear throughout most of the process is they're still figuring it out to a degree. And especially the earlier versions didn't really knock the mites back a ton. They mainly held them. So I would play it safe personally and do both. I have I have hit colonies with oxalic acid a dozen times in a 21-day period. You know what? The mites died and the bees survived winter. They looked really good. So I don't know. The University of Florida is recommending that the dosage go up by 4 times what it legally is right now. So again, this is a tedious subject, but my philosophy is when in doubt, nuke them out. It really is. Those mites and the viruses they carry are the worst thing we deal with. And oxalic acid does more damage to people than it does to the bees. And that's really only when it's in a very concentrated vapor form we suck it in. Kamon, how do we get the silent auction items to you for the conference? Geez, bees. All right, that's fantastic. You can actually bring them with you. We will be putting that on the website before too long. We've got a lot of stuff up and coming for the website, but most people just brought them to the conference. So they didn't have to ship them in. But if that's needed for you, we can make that happen as well. And we just have long, long, long rows of tables, and all that goes to the kid program. That's actually what Laurel and I were working on prior to this live chat, and we've got several awesome young ladies and gentlemen that have entered in, and we're now going through them. Actually, oh, by the way, tonight's the night. If you have any young person that wanted to fill that out, they need to get it in tonight. By tomorrow, it's over on that. Unless we have somebody donate a bunch afterwards and I end up with an extra spot. But I don't think that'll probably happen because I already have plenty of kids that have entered in. However, yeah, that all that silent auction goes to these kids. And if anybody's kid is waiting to send it in, do not wait any longer. Tonight is the night. Get it done. However, I just was grinning from ear to ear because there's so many awesome young girls and guys that are excited about beekeeping and coming to our conference. And I wish we could give something to every kid in the country, but I'm excited about the ones that will be there this year. All right. Helped a fellow beekeeper in Kentucky over the weekend pull honey. Had my first introduction to a long Langstroth hive. I am sold. Next hive I build will be a long deep. I think they're a good hive. There's pros and cons. One of the cons, of course, is not being able to pull supers off at a time. And you can't really tip up that bottom box and look for cells underneath the frames like I like to with the Langstroth. But there's a lot of pros too, and the fact that you don't have to bend over so far to work the colony, and they don't get quite so tall. They make a lot of sense for several people. So I would like to see more people use them because they do make sense for a lot of people. All right. Hi, do you put wet frames back onto the colonies? That is legally what you're supposed to do in Tennessee. However, I keep forgetting and leaving them out for the bees to forage out of the frames. I just set them out in the shade so the combs don't melt. The bees clean them out in a matter of an hour and they're dry and ready for storage. Putting them back onto the colony, I think, is a huge waste. It also will incite robbing big time on that colony. So I don't want to do anything that'll start robbing. If you don't give Laurel credit, she will harvest your organs. I hope not. At this point, I've made myself useful enough. I'm like that drone that's extra ambitious because I don't want to get kicked out of the colony. That's basically what I'm doing. What's the latest in the year you would harvest honey? How much would you leave for the winter? So it really depends so much, Walter. So my honey flow has been done here in my area since early June. Definitely, I've been feeding for a long time now, and a lot of northern beekeepers find that goldenrod and some of those types of honey they yank it off because it's not a good winter feed for areas with long winters, and they just yank it off and then just feed, feed, feed. So bees can overwinter good on sugar syrup. If you would prefer to harvest more honey, you just need to feed a lot. 1-to-one's very thin, but if you want to leave plenty of food for a colony to overwinter on, you need to at least leave a medium super and then some down in the brood chambers, um, which would probably need to be at least another 20 pounds. And that depends on where you're at. Some people with long winters literally will have bees to use 100 pounds of food. And just really depends on how insulated they are. But as far as your question, how much would I leave for winter? I like to see every strong colony that goes into winter with a good deep of bees. So, a good 8 to 12 frame cluster, something like that. I want to see a deep box worth of food. Bees know how much food they have. And so when they're coming out of winter and they've got a decent cluster and they look up above and they're like, we have everything and then some, they will lay at a much higher level than a colony that maybe only has 5 frames of food. And they're like, if we go all out, we might kill ourselves from burning through our resources. So make sure you leave plenty, but you can always feed, feed, feed. All right. A lot of people from all over the country. Thanks for coming in tonight and for saying hey and all that stuff. All right. Hey, we caught a few rains this past week in Arkansas. How many hives will die with no treatment versus treated bees? That's a difficult question, but one I think after 20 years, I have a pretty decent idea for myself what to expect. So, back when I was a younger beekeeper, I went through multiple stages. I went through treating early to no treatment to back to treatment. And the reason I went from treatment to no treatment is because I was still losing a bunch of bees treating. Problem was that the information back then was very poor in this region. The information in Tennessee is still pretty poor in most of our general education areas, and I'm not very happy about that. But that's a conversation for another time. I wasn't treating enough, and I wasn't using sometimes the treatment at the most effective time of the year. If you knock the bees back to 0.5% in June, not the bees, knock the mites back to 0.5% infestation in June, well, every 21 days they double. So in July, I'm at 1%, August, 2%, 4% in September. My bees are crashing. They ain't going to survive all that. So a lot of it depends on the time of the year. So early on, I didn't treat right. And so I was losing about 70 to 80%. And then what I had left was not all winners, let me tell you. So it was ugly. Then I went to treatment free and I lost my shirt as much or more. Then from and I mean I wasn't just blindly going treatment free. I was buying treatment free stock that was supposed to be proven. We tried Russian bees, we tried VSH, we tried all kinds of things. I raised my own I was raising my own queens. I raised them for the survivors. So we weren't doing it halfway. But I was still losing tons of bees. And I was having too much inconsistency. I'm trying to run a business here, and I like those bee yards that you pull 3,000, 4,000 pounds of honey out of them. Let me tell you. So then we decided. Well, this is before I got married. I decided after reading something from Randy Oliver and Michael Palmer, I'm like, you know what? These are the guys that are selling bees every year. These guys are producing honey. They have so many bees that they're taking them for pollination. Obviously, they're doing something at a higher level than I'm doing. So I started doing alcohol washes and going back into treating, but verifying my treatments. And that's when I found that what I was being told worked in Tennessee did not work. And that when they told me I could do oxalic acid once a week for 3 weeks and I had cleaned up the mites, that was a load of horseradish. And I like oxalic acid, but you have to use it smart. All of these treatments have to be used smart. So, what I will say is now that I treat smart and efficiently, we have years that we don't have 10% losses. That is a big difference over what it used to be. So, depends on if you're comparing it to someone who's treating blindly or treating and getting it actually done. So, that's my opinion on it. Very small opinion. Collecting pollen in New York. All right. I love pollen. It is awesome. Hey, Jason Johnson, it's going good. Thanks for asking. All right. So, wow, I got to get through these comments faster. I found bee cozies almost $20 less than Man Lake and Dayton. Absolutely. Well, and things like that, you can get those if you come to our conference. A lot of those things, if you contact the companies, they'll bring them to the conference and you can get a discount and save money. So, just always be planning for that if you're coming, anyways. Hey, Cayman, what is your thinking about 10 queens that died in 5 hours from they are taking when taking them from the nukes? What is the most common thing to kill queens in a cage with bees? What do you think? Overheating. Overheating, yes. Also, yours aren't like this. Obviously, you have. It sounds like you have bees with them, but queens are very social dependent. All bees are, and so even if they have nutrition, it hasn't been that long. They get really messed up fairly quickly from being isolated. And that is why, even if you have a queen in great health and you yank her out and you keep her by herself, even if there's plenty of food nearby, she just won't live. It's like they almost lose the will to live. They need each other. The colony is just it's really comprised of so many different things that kind of hold them all together, pheromones and all these interactions. A lot of stuff I'm sure we don't even know. But I would say heat. That would be my number one guess. Kamon, have you heard anything about a veil company to make a better screen on a veil? I'm working with a company right now. Andy White, good to hear from you. They are going to be at our Hive Life conference, and we will see if they get it done between now and then. There's a lot of companies scrambling to getting some new product, and we will be giving an award this year. I've actually got a lot. I know I kind of can budget this year, and we are going to have a nice award for beekeeping gadgets and innovations this year. Now, and I'm going to have a heck of a lot more time. Got a lot more help. So the honey show, I've been working on that with some of our judges, and so we're going to, of course, have regular extracted honey, light, amber, dark. We're going to have creamed honey this year, naturally flavored creamed honey. All of these will be in a 1 pound glass jar. Then we'll have the black jar, which can be a lot smaller, but it has to be a black jar. We are going to have beekeeping photography. So if you want to bring in your pictures of honeybees and hives and all that stuff, and we'll have that category. We'll also have a beekeeping gift basket category. Of course, the beekeeping gadgets, like I mentioned. We'll have the beeswax block. We'll have the decorative beeswax block category. We'll have desserts. So this is going to be pretty open ended, but it has to be honey sweetened, and you have to share the recipe with the judges so that they know, kind of make sure that it's not high fructose corn syrup, or sugar. We're also going to have a sauce category this year. So anybody who makes barbecue sauce or honey mustard or anything like that, if you want to brag about, hey, even if it's a product you sell and you're wanting to get the word out there, bring it in. We'll have awards for that. We're going to have needle craft. So if you crochet, knit, sew, all those things, it'll have to have bees on it, of course, but why would you not want to put that on there anyways? We'll have categories for that: comb honey, chunk comb honey, and 3 categories of candles. So we're going to have this year a grand prize, and it's like $150. It's silver and marble and very fancy. So whoever accumulates the most ribbons and will get best to show in this fancy trophy. So we're going to really go all out this year on stuff. So it's going to be quite a bit of fun. And I'm anxious because we got some people bringing honeys from other countries. So, yeah, that was a long way of saying, Andy, we may have that person there with the veil. Oh, yeah. Hey, Shane Williams, thanks for saying that. Glad that you were able to raise some of your own queens, and it's definitely a lot of fun. I mean, raising queens and making splits and seeing those new queens take off. There's nothing else like it. Jason Sneed, and when does the queen lay winter bees and when do they hatch, the winter bees? So that really depends a little bit on your area. For me, I believe most of mine are created in October. And so we need to have strong bees going into August and September, low mite loads, of course, and tons of nutrition. And they need to be a big cluster. So this is why splitting late can actually be a problem, because if you take a nice 10 frame bit of bees and you break that up into multiple pieces, or double deep and break that up into pieces, it's harder for them to have a big cluster. And that means they're not able to make such a big push going into winter. It doesn't mean that they won't survive, but I like big bees. So having a strong bit of bees going into that fall flow really helps you get you plenty of winter bees. And feeding pollen patties during that time too, if you can get away with it, is very helpful. Edward Alsop, how many people have signed up for the conference so far? We are knocking on the door of 1,000 people. We didn't open up registration last year until the end of August, and we've already surpassed where we were last year. So this is going to be intense. We're also going to shut it down at some point as well. I don't know exactly where that number is, but we're probably looking around 1,600 people. Because once you start adding staff and all the vendors onto that and speakers, I bet you I'm going to have 200 something people just in vendors at least. So there's probably going to be like 18, 1900 people there at this rate. And it's going to be great. It's going to be a blast. And I've got a lot of exciting things in the works. I just don't want to announce it yet. All right. Kamon sumac pollen is loading up here and dearth is knocking on the door. Kamon, would you be feeding? So if the bees need it, give it. And if, you know, as far as what is that, 40 pounds. I want to see at least 40 pounds in a colony on the low end. If it's a strong colony. Now, if it's a little nuke or something, that's a little bit different. But if we're talking like a nice big production colony, I want to pick up one of the boxes. And I want to go, that's how heavy it needs to be. So definitely need to feed them if they don't have that much food. Because again, bees know what they have. And I'm telling you, the bees that I have seen over the years that have excess food going into the fall flow, they always go into winter bigger. They come out of winter bigger. Excess food, excess mite control. Do things to a very high level, and your bees will reward you. All right, where's my live chat? Oh, there it is. Well, thanks, Hell Hives. I appreciate it. I actually was eating some of your honey last night with some tea. Very good. Okay, I want to share something with you guys. This is a video Gus Mitchell did recently, and this is a really important one. So a guy called me, and we were talking about how he had honey coming in, but he was a newer beekeeper, didn't have a lot of honeycombs, which is normal. So he was like, I need to pull this honey off because they're going to swarm on me if I don't get some more space, but they're not drawing the foundation as fast as I need them to. What am I going to do? Well, he talked to another guy, one of our speakers of the conference, Rick Sutton, and Rick gave him some great advice. I want to share it with you. On average, his supers were only about 20% capped. Only 20%. And the rule of thumb is if they're not 75% capped or more, your frames, then you don't need to pull your honey. The problem is that's not always the case. And we got him to get a refractometer. His average honey in those supers was below 17%. So that's plenty good for extracting. The bees hadn't even come close to capping it halfway. And so he yanked that off, extracted it, put it back on, and they filled them back up during the sourwood flow in the mountain areas they have over there. And so, of course, he was real thrilled. He's like, Kamon, why have I not seen this information more in bee literature? I'm like, I don't know. This has been around for a long time. But you can buy a refractometer off of Amazon for like $25, $30. And they work good. So you can be assured that you're not going to get fermented honey. And it can help you, sometimes get that honey off faster if you're short on combs so you can extract them out and get them back on the bees. Now, one step further, he then later had some supers that were a little bit high. They were like 18.9, 19% moisture content, really too high. Ideally, I would like to see my honey no higher than 18%. Can it be higher than 18%? Yes, it can. I think it's always better to err on the side of being a little bit on the low side. And so since it was a little high, you just got some box fans, like those cheap box fans, and you just put it on top of the supers and just blow that through there. And if you have a dehumidifier, that's also helpful. You can have both of those nearby. But if not, you can just put a box fan on top of like 10 medium supers or something like that and just blow that air through there, just like the bees would, and you'll dry it down over a few days. And that works very good. So just wanted to throw that tip out at you guys for those of you who did not already know. Speaking of Gus Mitchell, who's on here tonight, sounds like I'm going to be going to his place in just a couple weeks, and I'm going to be shipping in one of those new thorn extractors down to Gus' place as long as nothing crazy happens, and we're both going to run it down there on some of his honey and see how well that new American-made extractor works. I'm really excited to see it. He's shown me all the details on how it's made, and it is really cool. It looks like it's made to last longer than I am. Wish I could spell. If people take away anything from your comments tonight, the one on constantly checking your mite numbers both before and after treatments is absolutely critical. It's a pain in the butt. Wish I could spell, but it is worth it because even if it's just one out of the 10 colonies that you have that still has too high of a mite load, the last thing we want is for them to build it up throughout the rest of the season, crash with 4,000, 5,000, 10,000, whatever mites, and reinfest the rest of our colonies so they can be eat on all winter long. So that is definitely yes, a pain in the butt, but it is worth it. Bees aren't cheap, and waiting a whole nother year for another honey crop isn't cheap either. Yeah, so the attendance for the conference, yeah, we'll probably go around 1,600 actual attendees, I would say. Donovan. Kimberly Schmidt, my granddaughter is going to State 4-H. She did a presentation on bee setup, equipment, and harvesting. That is awesome, and that's the there's nothing I like better than seeing young people get into bees. It reminds me of the way I felt when I first got into bees. I have not forgotten it. I love being around young beekeeping kids for that reason. It's a lot of fun, a lot of energy. And young people can be really smart when they put their minds to it. And definitely very useful. Speaking of which, Natalie might be on here. I don't know if she is or not. I know she was extracting honey midday after church, um, but she might be on here. And a little bird told me that when I'm going to be speaking in Illinois next year in 2023, in July, that she's going to be one of the speakers up there with me, and so that is going to be fun. I'm probably going to get picked on, and maybe by then she'll be taller than me too. Ah, we all have crosses to bear. So, Cayman, when do you treat summer or fall? Both, if I need to. June, and then sometimes again in early September or late August, depending on what the mite loads are looking at. I typically, alcohol washes take a lot of time. So we go ahead and proactively treat in June or very early July, every colony, whether they need it or not. Because some people are like, well, that's a waste of money and treatment. Well, when you have hundreds of hives, time is money. And so just go through, just treat all the way through. However, then we can come back in August and we're fixing to do about 52 hives worth of alcohol washes day after tomorrow. And we are going to go and assess the yards and do those washes. And that's when we really do almost all of our washes for the year, mostly is in August. And that gives us a really clear picture of what we have and what we still need to do. And it might only be a 5% of the operation that needs treated again. But if they need it, we need it. Hey, 5% of 100 hives is 5 hives. And out of 300 hives, it's 15. 15 hives can be turned into 3 or 4 nukes in spring if I just want to sell nukes. And hey, that's a good chunk of change right there. And I've got a 6-year-old son. He's eating me out of house and home. I mean, I gotta pay for that. I gotta keep those bees alive. What dose of Apigar would you use on a single 10 frame deep right now with the temps we are having in Tennessee? Hey, good question, Mark Sweeney. What I would do is put an empty medium super on it to get some good air circulation above. So if you're running a deep single and there's at least 8 frames of bees in it, put on a medium. It doesn't have to have frames in it, or you can make a shim for it, or it could be a deep if that's all you have. Put your lid on, do a 30-gram dose. So it comes in 50-gram doses, do a 30-gram dose. And then I would do that a week apart 3 times. So 30 grams, 30 grams, 30 grams. And make sure that you don't have the entrance reduced down to like a chiclet size. That's not enough airflow to get that out of there. You'd at least want a few inches. Hell Hives, Kamon, you were at the HAS a few weeks ago and witnessed the Welsh judging system for the honey show. Has a decision been made as to the criteria that will be employed in January? I was on the phone 2 hours last night talking to the judges about the criteria that we are going to use this year. So most of it is being figured out, and we have most of it down. The trick is now I have to type all this crap up, and it is, and make sure I don't goof up because then it'll mess people. And I don't really have anybody else to do it right now. So, this is the kind of work I end up doing, and I really don't have time for it. But whenever I get around to it, it will be typed up if I can't find somebody else to do it. And I may be able to pay one of the judges to do it, and that's probably the route I'm trying to get done. Problem is, one of the judges is really busy as a commercial beekeeper. We'll figure it out, but I'm going to try to get it as soon as possible. But it should not be very far away from what we had last year. But we will be adding on categories, and that will be the biggest trick. Hey, Walker Bee Ranch, totally will do so. Roll Tide, only 30 days till game time. Oh yeah, fall's my favorite season. Spring and fall, spring and fall. This summer's overrated. Kamon, my queen that I made after summer solstice is going gangbusters in a dearth when the rest of my colonies have slowed way down. Awesome stuff. What are your thoughts? This is why raising and keeping queens young is so important. They really have some serious upsides. First of all, they don't swarm as much the next year. Second of all, they as long as there's nothing wrong with them, they build up bigger clusters to go into winter with, which is massive. Bigger clusters are more resilient to cold weather and also cold flashes in spring that they'll get thrown at them because they have a bigger cluster. They can better control the temperature in there. So young queens have a lot of advantages, and young queens, even if the bees try to regulate them, they can't hardly do it. Young queens just lay because they just have to. Once that initial laying sequence starts, they've just got to go. And young queens are awesome for that reason. I have wondered about this. I was thinking about this actually today. Oh, Natalie texted me. I'm in trouble. I'm in trouble all the time. At this point, it's just kind of standard. So I was thinking about this today. What we talk about, but doing a two queen system early in the year to help our honey production, to build up big colonies so we have more forager bees and we can have these massive hives. What if we did a two queen system going into winter? I mean, well, of course, long before winter, but did it like in July. And what you would do is either you could purchase one or better yet, have your own queen cells or queen cells from a buddy. Make us like a double deep colony, make a split and let that, you could use a double screen board or you could put it to the side, whatever. Double screen board would be best. And then you could have two queens going. You don't have to kill the old queen. You've got a new queen. And then you could combine them, but have them separated with an excluder and all of that. And you could do basically the same type of two queen combined that you did in spring, but now you have two queens and this massive colony going into winter. And you'd have these just almost unnatural clusters going into winter. It's not really unnatural. I have seen two queen hives go into winter and it's unreal. You'll open up these hives in like January and it's like, oh my goodness, there's like 14, 15 frames of bees in here. And it's January. I've thought about doing that for my operation. Like instead of requeening and killing old queens, just doing a two queen system. It might be a little bit too much work, but I'm going to look into it. Pretty crazy idea. Whew. All right. So I wanted to show you guys something real quick. One of the companies that is going to be at our conference I've been working with, they've got about 3 new products coming out. It's the company I get my frame feeders from. That's Motherload Plastics. They are out of California. It's USA made. They're very cost effective compared to a lot of companies like Man Lake. And so this is something that they sent me to test out. And one of the guys that's actually on here tonight suggested it to me. And they're plastic supers. I don't see myself switching to these anytime soon. They have the same R value and they just pop in. I mean, literally, it took me a couple seconds to pop all this together. I know some commercial guys that are using these and say that they really like them. They're made out of course, food grade plastic. And I thought, you know what? Probably how I would use them is for like honey supers. I just use wood to overwinter my bees on. And then I would use these as honey supers. And you'd have that nice, cool white plastic, keep the colony cool. And you could just pop them together, especially in an emergency situation, just being able to order these and just pop them together. But they have a lot of different products, several feeders, more feeders on the way, and another new product coming out that I can't tell you yet, but I'm super pumped about it. Got to say a monstrous thank you to Brian Reese, who's our biggest supporter, and we have some big ones too. We appreciate him helping us all the way out from Jersey. I hope you and the boss are doing good, Brian, and hope the bees are doing good too. You got a lot of bosses, all those bees and your wife. You know, I guess I do too. That's all right. Don Beard and any 1 pound glass jar, even for the creamed honey. So, Don, I think we may do a little bit smaller on the creamed honey, maybe do like a 1/2 pound glass or something. I'm going to have to talk to the judges about this. This is where it gets really tedious. And I'm trying to kind of change things a little bit. And let me tell you, a lot of people don't like it very much, but I'm trying to make it a little bit more user friendly because a lot of these, I get it. You have to have strict rules because I don't want to be like how we do everything in this country anymore, where everybody gets a trophy. And I know you're not asking for that, Don, but I also think that some of the rules are just little much, you know. And I'd like to make it a little bit more fun and easy for everybody to enter in the honey show that wants to. We want to have a stupid awesome bee show, and wow, it is pouring outside again. That's great. I went to mow the yard. I've got sweet potatoes right now, like 10 feet wide. They're massive. The leaves. Any information updates on the vendor registration? I've about got it finished. The biggest problem, Jason, is that when I released it, I wanted to be able to do the sponsorship information too, so it's all at once. And that's the problem is I've been waiting on quotes on different things. We're going to have like a program magazine, all kinds of different things. So it's on the way. We've got almost all of it done. We're just waiting for one or two more items to finish it to completion. And I think next year I will have somebody hired on at least part time to help make this a little bit easier and faster. Kamon, will a lane worker prevent a colony from raising a new queen? A lot of times it will, Shane. However, I have had some situations where they were just starting to go lane worker. I drop in a frame of eggs from a good hive or young larvae, and that suppresses that lane worker condition because that's really what keeps it suppressed is really not a queen so much as it is correct brood. And then you drop a queen cell in there, not a queen, because the queen will probably still get killed, but you drop a queen cell in there. And a lot of times that queen cell will emerge, they'll accept her, she'll go and mate, and then she'll come back with a small cohort of bees that fly in with her. And between that and the brood, that can work. I hate spending 30-40 bucks for a queen and then introducing them into a colony like that and just getting killed. Holy smokes, it is pouring out there. All right. 300 viewers. Yeah, I feel very honored to have this many people on and got some cool stuff coming up. We've taken a little bit of a vacation the last week or so and just tried to reset a little bit. And we had some good family time and starting to hit everything really hard again. Literally to catch up on emails and phone calls, I spent 2 full days on the phone. That's not that's not what I envisioned for myself. Uh, it's all right, but I like bees a little bit more than uh, office work. But hey, I just need to get one of the kids needs to get a little bit older. What's the lowest water? Oh gosh, that thing just jumped like 5 miles down. Oh, Bigfoot American, thanks for donating again. I did not see that one. Thank you so much. And I will scroll down and get to you all's questions. Um, Sorry about that. Landon Nelson, Kamon, thoughts on pollen patties with supers on? I've totally done it before. Just got to watch small hive beetles, but yeah, totally can do it. The only thing I hate about doing pollen patties with supers on is the fact that there are supers on, and it's a lot more back-breaking work to get the pollen patties. Cowan, Lyson, or Gunness. That is hard to say. I personally like Cowan stuff, but Dakota Gunness is really good as well. I've heard. I've only had experience with Cowan, and all of my buddies run Cowan. I will tell you this: the Cowan stuff is not only built to last a lifetime, it's also made to work on. It's easy to fix things if something was to go bad. I've yet to have anything go bad, but I love Cowan. It is an amazing, amazing product. We don't see enough products like that. The closest thing we have to that now is Thorn Manufacturing. The more and more they continue to grow, I think the more and more people will realize how much heavier built they are than the competition. And I'm excited to do the product review on the extractor here in the next couple weeks. Now, the difference between Lyson and Cowan are pretty extreme, Justin Landrum. I don't know what you're going for. Sounds like if you're going for Lyson or Cowan or Gunness, you're probably talking about an uncapper. You can sometimes find an old Silver Queen Cowan for like $2,000, $3,000. And just you can uncap a box of combs every 50 seconds with those suckers. They're awesome. That's what I've got. The Cowan Silver Queen is awesome, and it's cheaper than the other. So, personally, I haven't used the Lyson. I've heard some people say they're good, but as far as which one's built heavier, Lyson or Cowan, there's no question. Uh, Cowan is built way heavier than a Lyson. Doug Summers got a Hilco extractor and liked it. Actually, I spent 2 days earlier this week with John of Hilco, and we talked about a lot of things. They've got a lot of exciting stuff going on. And I got to say thanks to John with Hilco. He's one of the guys donating an extractor to be given away during our 50,000 subscriber giveaway. Over 5,000 stuff and goodies. So watch out for that towards the end of this month, beginning of September. Lots of stuff given away. Does the older method of fogging with mineral oil and wintergreen still effective in controlling mites? Back when that came out, it still wasn't effective at controlling mites. The problem was the people who were promoting that the most were making a lot of money off of YouTube by getting people to click a very popular topic. I personally, it does not work that good, if at all. And I have tried using wintergreen and mineral oil, and I sometimes I wonder if I would have just sprayed water on the bees if I could have got the same amount of drop. I'm not trying to bash anybody, but ultimately the whole fogger thing with mineral oil and wintergreen was more of a fat bee man barnyard bees thing. And it was more about getting you guys to click it and watch on YouTube than it was about helping you guys control mites. Sawmill, Charlie's Bee Farm. I just put a video on drying honey down on my channel. I actually think I saw a video of yours, Charlie's Bee Farm. I'll have to give that one a check. Kamon, two supers, 90% cap, still had 19.5% moisture. Any idea? Yeah, Kodak Farms. Obviously, it's humid in your area. And isn't that crazy how that can happen? That's why we have to be careful. Sometimes old literature is really good. And I love old stuff, but you can be 75% capped, 100% capped, and still your honeybee too high in moisture content. Personally, I think a $25 to $30 refractometer is worth the investment. You can get them online to have little tester kits so you can recalibrate it periodically just to double check and make sure that it's calibrated properly. But yeah, capped honey can be too wet. And I've had supers that I have pulled, not a cell was capped that was under 17%. I measured it. I believe it was like 16.8, something like that. It was dry, not a capped cell in sight. So there's a lot of variables, and really only a refractometer will for sure tell you. Um, there's some people that'll do like a sticky test, and you can take it, and if you practice enough, you can go like this and see when the honey separates from one finger to the other. And Laurel's really good with that, actually. She's done it for many years, and she can do that and tell you generally pretty close what percentage of moisture content is in that honey. But not all of us have amazing wives like Laurel, so I apologize. uh, did you hear that? Dinner should be good tonight. Yeah, Hilco will be at our conference, Joshua Williams. Actually, so get this. Hilco will be getting like 8 10 by 10 spots, and Lyson and Dogwood Ridge, who's one of our sponsors for our giveaway as well, and one of my friends. They're getting 12 10 by 10s. That's a massive booth. 12 10 by 10s. It's going to be so loaded down with uncapping tanks, extractors, automatic uncappers, of course, tons of woodenware. Same thing with Hilco. Thorn Manufacturing is going to be there. Cowan may be there. Still working on them. We're going to have Savan. We're going to have all kinds of stuff. Anything that you want and what you don't want, we're going to have it. It's crazy. I've got like 5 companies from out of country coming too. Whew, deep breath, Kamon. Whew. Kamon, I just got my first Easy Vap, and it's a game changer. It's summer brood break time, and I plan to hit them every 3 days for a month. Good plan. Too much, not enough. Tony Hill, it sounds like it's a pretty good plan, actually. One thing I want to point out to you guys, I've said it on here before, and I'm going to say it again, is I think that'll work. I still would like to see an alcohol wash afterwards just to verify, Tony. I justify my alcohol washes by saying queens that have low mite loads and good nutrition are going to lay between this time of the year 800 to 1,000 eggs a day. Sacrificing 300 to be sure that my colony is protected, to me, is totally worth it. And bees kill bees all the time, in order to ensure survivability of the colony. So we're really not defying nature there either. Now, what I was going to get to, we got to stop looking at treating bees at a 21-day window. It's not that it's bad, but it could be better. Brood is only capped for around 13 days. So if we treat heavily that first time and cut and get like a 90% kill on that initial surge, that's covering like 9 days worth of the brood period. Let's see. 8.5. I believe it's like 8.5 and 13.5. It varies. So it's covering about 8 to 9 days, about 9 days till they cap it from when the egg is laid. And so if we can get that 90%, then we only have about a 13, let's just say 2-week period of capped brood that we need to get. So then hammering them hard during that 14-day period as they're emerging out, that would actually be better than, let's say you did 7 treatments with oxalic acid. It'd be better to concentrate that over a 2-week period instead of a 21-day period, because really all of your mites are in that 14 days of capped brood. That's the majority of them. And any of them that aren't in that capped brood are going to get caught up in all that artillery shelling you're doing in the colony. And some people argue that's rough on the bees. I've done 12 treatments before on a colony that was ridden with viruses and thousands of mites. And you know what? They survived and looked way better after all the mites were gone. So that's just my opinion on it. Bees are pretty resilient when you get rid of something that's eating their guts. But yeah, the Easy Vap, I actually have one, and they're a good unit. Speaking of vaporizers, I am going to post a link below, and I'm posting it now. So this is for this unit. I just wanted to give everybody a little bit of an update because some people have been asking me, because I did the video on it. This instant vaporizer, it is still like 6 weeks out that it's going to take for you to get a unit. So just so you know, they're getting them as quick as they can, but somebody did some advertising for them on a new product and they can't keep up. And I told you guys wrong in the video, kind of. This is actually brass, so it's way stronger. I mean, I could probably hang my son Jimmy on this thing. It's so heavy duty. and yeah, just unscrews if you ever did something wrong to it. But it's real nice. The reason I misspoke is because in Hungary, in English, copper, that's they use it more loosely. I mean, Hungary is not their first language, anyways, or English is not their first language in Hungary. However, copper here is a lot softer than brass is. So, anyways, that link will take you to them below. However, they are pretty backlogged on that, but this is my favorite toy right now, and I cannot wait to use it again. What I did with it most recently is we had all of those nukes from Corey Stevens where we dropped those queen cells in them. And so all those queens went out, mated. We put capped brood in there. So by the time the queen comes back and lays, her brood won't be capped for 9 days. So if we come in there about 7 days after she has started laying, all the mites are 100% exposed. Enter this big guy right here and just nuke all the mites right out of them. And what I like about this thing is that this plunger just makes it so fast and adjusts. It goes up to 4 right here, but if you actually unscrew it a good bit, you can just about get 6 grams with one of these doses. I don't put that much into a nuke, obviously, but it's nice to have options. Yeah, DC's blessed bees. Yeah, if you don't pick up a box and if you don't pick up a box and it doesn't have enough honey or sugar syrup in it that I don't grunt, then it's not heavy enough. Doesn't have enough food. All right, so I'm probably gonna get this wrong, but Maxim Stadnik says late to join this chat. Thanks for the information. Quick question: when making winter sugar syrup, how can I be sure it will not crystallize? Thank you. I'm not 100% sure about that. I think what helps the most is letting the bees have plenty of time to work it over. When I fed syrup late in the season, I don't think they store it a lot faster. I don't think they work it as much. They don't run it through as many bees. And so it doesn't get inverted quite as good. And then you get some crystallization in the sugar syrup over time. Some years I don't see any of it. Some years I see more of it. And I think it has to do with a couple things. First of all, feeding very late and the bees not getting to impart their goodies into it as much. And also, what are you feeding? So I like to feed something that's a little bit like Pro Sweet that's already got a balanced amount of sugars in it. So what's different about Pro Sweet versus the store bought sugar is the store bought sugar is sucrose. There's nothing wrong with that. Bees like it. However, they're going to invert it over to fructose and to glucose and other, and however they like to do it. And plus, put enzymes and other things in there. And again, the Pro Sweet is already inverted into some of that stuff. So I really think again the biggest thing you can do is just feed it early, get it on early in the season, and let the bees work their magic on it. I don't really know what to tell you other than you could put some things in there to acidify it a little bit, which some beekeepers do to help invert that. But I'm really not an expert at that, to be honest. Really not. Bob Binney would probably be a better person to ask about that. Perhaps Ian Stepler, because he's in such a cold area. I'll have to ask him next time I talk to him. All right. I got to say a big thank you to, oh gosh, where did it go? Jerome Bee Farm and Homestead. Thanks, Jerome, again for supporting us. And I saw where you were doing your extraction videos and getting all that honey and everything. And it looks like you had a good crop this year. Bees have been working hard, and so have you. And I saw that review you did on Hilco boxes versus Man Lake boxes. And it's just, as someone who was here long before Man Lake got to the point that it is now, I remember when you bought a Man Lake box and they were just like that. They just fell into place. They were the most cost-effective, affordable company to buy from. You just bought from Man Lake because you saved money at Man Lake and you got good service and it was fast. And those days are gone. But, and You did that price out over Hilco versus Man Lake on your YouTube channel. It was good. Hey, Pappy's Bees, thanks for coming on. We'll see you later. So Zelma B says, I see several beekeepers on YouTube using peppermint candies in an effort to control small hive beetles, but haven't really heard if it's working or not. Any thoughts? I have some thoughts. I don't have any experience with peppermint oil. However, it's something that I feel like I'm going to be probably trying out before too long because everyone asks about it quite a bit. And personally, I think that it probably won't work that good, especially peppermint candies. If it's something that the bees are going to go over and eat them, and bees love peppermint candies, then I don't think that that's strong enough to keep the beetles away out of the hive itself. Now, if we're talking like using peppermint oil itself, which I use that for other things, gosh, somebody will not quit messaging me. Who is this? Of course, it's a beekeeper. Exit. We'll deal with you later. Um, where were we? If it's strong enough to where it is keeping the beetles out, I personally think it's at a very high concentration of peppermint oil, which would be very off-putting to the bees. I promise you. Peppermint oil has a menthol-like effect, so I'm sure it will repel beetles at a certain concentration. But what I found very interesting, and I find this interesting every year with different products, is when everybody's talking up these guardian entrances with the red light, when everyone's talking about how the honeybee healthy is helping their bees out, when everyone's talking about the peppermint candies, it's always in spring, especially with the small hive beetles. And well, any of those things, everything's easy in spring. Everything looks good in spring. What does it look like in late August? What does it look like this time of the year? That's what I want to see is how, when the small hive beetles are at their peak, is it really working? Essential oils can repel beetles, but they do repel bees too. Personally, just I'm thinking it's probably a waste of my time. However, maybe it'll work. I know some people told me cinnamon, putting that in your inner cover keeps ants away, and that did not work for me at all. And I poured more cinnamon in there than there was ants, and they still stayed in there. They must be Kamon ants because Kamons love cinnamon. And I hate I hated wasting that cinnamon. It was some good stuff. Oh wow, I am way away from the bottom of the comments. All right. Oh yeah, we've got some good vaporizers. It's nice to have so many vaporizers out there. It was not that many years ago. We had a pan vaporizer, and then we had the Pro Vap, the traditional one, and that was it. And so I know that this model isn't for everybody. Some people can't afford it or can't justify it, and I totally get that. However, it's so nice to see the options out there and the variety. So that's exciting. 6 weeks out on the Easy Vaps. Yeah, well, if somebody wouldn't talk about them so much, maybe they wouldn't be that far out. Sorry, guys. Honestly, I was as shocked as much as anybody. I'm not shocked that people are buying them to a degree because they're really well made, but I was just shocked at how fast people were buying them. It's great. I think it'll help a lot of people control mites a lot faster. And for me, this is what I've heard from a lot of people, and this is the same way I feel. Treating Varroa is like my least favorite job in beekeeping. Alcohol washes, oxalic acid treatments, all that. So anything that makes me more prone to actually go out there and do it and get it done, it's really worth it. If I save 2 hives this year treating better, then it's paid for itself. Let's see. Ah, okay, I see. Yeah, it's going to be pretty wild for sure. All right. So I'm just kind of catching up with the questions, everybody. It'll just take me a second. I'm going to the line. Oh yeah, Don Parker. I did mention I mentioned in the last live chat. I got some orange blossom honey. Actually, the same day that I picked up your orange blossom honey, I got some from Hell Hives as well from their area. And my kids have been really enjoying both. And the orange blossom is really good. I'm about halfway through this one. Thank you guys so much for sending that to us again. It really is a delicious treat, and orange blossom honey is very high on the top of my list of honeys. Hope you and your husband are doing really good down there, Don. Tell Wayne that I said hey. What is the bet? What is best to feed during winter, if anything? I live in Texas where the winters aren't long, but when it gets cold, it can get down in the 30s or even 20s frequently. Thanks. And CH, I don't mean to be mean or anything. I'm not at all. You guys don't have hardly winter compared to a lot of places. So that's not very cold at all. I have worked bees in 30-degree temperatures before, definitely 40s and 50s. You just have to be quick. And it's really brood that's sensitive to those temperatures. The bees can become sensitive to a degree if it's real cold, but if you're fast, it's not as big of a deal as some people make it out to be in Texas and Tennessee and places like that. So as far as your question, feeding them, sugar bricks, mountain camp sugar. You can buy fondant. Some of that Hive Alive fondant works really good. It's expensive, but it works really good. Sugar bricks are super cheap. I've got a video on it. I believe it's half a cup of water to 10 pounds of sugar. Wait, no, maybe that's for the half recipe. I'll have to look at the video. Maybe it's 1 cup of water to 10 pounds of sugar. And then you can stick it by a wood stove or put it in an oven. It dries just like a brick and it's perfect. How is it, Laurel? Really good? All right, let me have it. Let me have it. Natalie might be watching and she can text me and make fun of how I eat, like she did when she was visiting and so rudely made fun of my honey tasting habits. Turn around. Are you ashamed of how I eat too? Everybody's a critic. So I've got some sweet potato right here grown from our garden. We've been waiting for like 100 days. All right. You guys can't have any more. The rest is mine. That is good. That has got a lot of flavor. Shots fired. What's the lowest that you've had with a refractometer? I've had 15.2. That honey is so thick, you have to use some muscle to get it to come out of a squeeze bottle. I mean, it's like crazy, crazy thick. And I remember one time I took some over to my mom and my dad's, and it was like March or something like that. And it was about 40 degrees outside. And so that honey had been sitting out overnight in freezing temperatures, 15 point something percent moisture content, and they were wanting to eat it right away. I mean, you literally had to just to try to get a little bit out of the jar. It is amazing the difference between 15 point something honey and 18. Major difference. All right. I found two queens outside the hive that unfortunately were attacked with me trying to get bees back where I thought they'd go. Was this a swarm? I found two queens outside a hive that unfortunately were attacked with me trying to get bees back where I thought they go. Was this a swarm? Okay. So Adam, that probably was. So sometimes a hive will swarm, and if you try to put them back with another colony or them, it'll just be all out war this time of the year. Queens will be killed, bees will be killed. I've literally seen one time where I had a colony during a dearth, and it's very different in spring times. It's bees don't act the same. And you have a strong colony over here, and I had a two-way pallet, and I just threw a swarm. I was in a hurry, threw the swarm, at the entrance of this one was going to let them walk in. Well, instead of walking into this hive on this side of the pallet, they started mingling with these over here, and it just turned into a brawl. And of course, the big colony won, and that swarm was probably about 2.5 pounds of bees or so. It wasn't quite as big of as a package, and that big hive just wiped them out. Ah, nature. That might be what happened to you. Yeah, don't call it an easy VAP, Lindsay Homestead Farm. You got to get your terminology right because everything in this industry is confusing. A lot of things sound very similar. All right, getting back to stuff. So some folks are talking about like respirators and refractometers. We actually have a storefront. If you go to our YouTube videos and go in the description, you can see where we have links to like respirators that are rated for organic vapor that are safe and will work a lot better, and refractometers and stuff like that. And if you guys would like to help us out without spending a dime, I've said this in the past. I don't say it enough as Laura would like me to. But literally, if you go through our store link, even if you're going to buy a couch from Amazon, do they sell couches? Probably sell everything. Um, you can just go through our link, and then after you've clicked that, it puts anything that you buy within a short period of time, we get a percentage off of. And so I want to be very open about that. But at the same time, there's folks that I know that literally every time they buy something from Amazon, they go through our link, even if they're not buying bee stuff, it still counts. And that goes towards helping us do everything that we do. And we really appreciate it. Yeah, thankfully it's not August yet, but it will be tomorrow, buddy. What is the best hole locations to drill for oxalic acid treatment? I personally love getting one like this. I can go right in through the entrance of the colony. Um, some people love drilling holes in the backs of their boxes. Some people drill them up top. It really is just personal preference. I don't like drilling holes in my boxes. I wax dip my boxes. And so anything that's kind of, drills into it is creating a potential place for water to get in and swell and cause potential rot issues down the road. So I prefer going through the entrance of the colony, and you smoke the bees away with the smoker beforehand and just run it into the entrance, and you can get a towel or something and kind of close up the entrance for a little while, 5 to 10 minutes until the vapors condense down. Definitely got to watch it. If you're closing it up for 10 minutes and it's 90 something degrees outside, that's too long. But in wintertime, definitely I'll keep it closed up for 10 minutes. Cayman, what's your thoughts on honeybee healthy liquid protein and vitamin supplement? I've been using it. It doesn't seem to promote robbing. Those two don't have the lemongrass oil. I really don't know what to think about it. I've never used it before. I saw someone make a comment the other day about protein and sugar syrup, and they mentioned putting like a teaspoon in per gallon. Even if it was a tablespoon, that's just really not hardly anything at all. You might be able to raise five, you know, 10, 20 bees out of that. That's not enough. It takes about a pound of food to make a pound of bees. So if you're putting that little bit of protein in there, there's not enough. Now I don't know what all is in Honeybee Healthy liquid protein, and it may help. I mean, it may help their immune system out a little bit. I don't know. What makes me skeptical on all of these things is when I look at my buddies that are running 10,000, 1,200, 500, whatever colonies. I look a lot of what they do. Some of these guys literally have researchers, especially the guys with like 10,000, 20,000 colonies. They literally hire researchers to test these products for them. They don't really share it with anybody unless except personally, because they don't run YouTube channels and all that kind of stuff. They don't want any extra publicity because right now, unfortunately, um, the public opinion on commercial beekeeping is all commercial guys are evil and bad. Thank you, Netflix. But the reality of it is, most of them are second, third, fourth generation beekeepers who are extremely good at what they do. And they're so good at doing what they do, they can keep bees alive, trucking them around the country, sell bees to other people, and make a honey crop and repeat and actually live off of that. So, long story short, they have researchers on payroll and they test these products up, some of the probiotics, some of the feed supplements. And if these guys don't use it, then it's not affecting their bottom line enough because everything to them has to be vetted. And personally, I think that those expensive supplements, you have to give them a long, hard look because it adds up fast, very fast. Beekeeping already can be expensive as it is. So I'm not much of a supplement guy. I used to a lot early on, but I find that great queens, dead mites, and good nutrition does really well for me. And I've yet to find a supplement that I thought that, as far as like a liquid or a dusting or something like that, like a probiotic that I put into my hive and go, wow, that was worth it. I haven't seen anything like that. That's just my 2 cents. That doesn't mean I'm right. I am trying out this Apis Biologics stuff for sugar syrup, but kind of what makes me interested to try it out is the fact that all the chemicals that are in there mimic what's already in nectar. So it's just a mimic product. There's really not a lot of protein in sugar syrup, nectar, sorry. That's just my opinion. I don't know. This is where I would love to see more of you all out there do some research on this kind of thing. And don't think just because you have 20 hives, 10 hives, you can't do anything. One of my favorite researchers right now is Etienne Tardif up in Yukon. He doesn't run 50 colonies, he doesn't run close to that, but he collects really good data and does some really good trials and tests. And beekeepers need to start doing more and more of their own stuff. We do more for ourselves than anybody else does. And that's always been the case and always will be the case. So let's work together to figure out these products and to figure out new techniques. Have you ever noticed the amount of creatures come around beehives, wrens, ants, lizards? So we have a lot of creatures. Over the years, you see a lot of creatures at unnatural levels because your bees are really nutritious for them. So I see lots of robber flies. They absolutely love our bees. Tanagers, they're one of the more gorgeous birds I see here in Tennessee. They literally will eat like half their weight in bees a day. They and one or two of them's not a big deal. I have literally seen 30 to 40 of them at a time in my place here at the house. And that's a lot of bees that they'll eat. So tanagers, but they know it's a smorgasbord and they migrate through this area. And then we also see lizards. Blue-tailed lizards will eat bees. Of course, skunks will eat bees. I see a lot of assassin bugs. They get very prolific over time because they feed off of our bees. Robber flies, assassin bugs. There's a lot of creatures and types of lizards that will multiply at pretty high levels around your bees because they're getting high levels of nutrition and are able to reproduce at a good level. All right. So SW Ohio B. So hey, by the way, I actually threw in a plug for you, but on your Liberty Laser stuff. So that SW Ohio Bees guys is the one that engraved this right here, and he does all kinds of different things, and he sells them. So, of course, this is for our Hive Life conference, but you can get stuff for family members or events and stuff from Liberty Laser. And I just looked it up. They've got a website, all kinds of stuff. So as far as your question, though, SW Ohio Bees, your bees have swarmed more in the past couple weeks than they did all spring. Thoughts? I really don't know unless they're getting bound up by something. If you guys are still in a flow up there, which I wouldn't think you would be in the southwest part of Ohio, I really don't know. Are they large swarms or small swarms? Gus Mitchell says that he found a tanager stung to death one time in between hives. Wow, that's crazy. Yeah, German shepherds. Yeah, dogs. Dogs like I've had a couple dogs that thought they liked going to the bee yard with me once or twice, and they got over that pretty quick. All right. So have you started breaking them down? Are you going to single brood box over this winter? So no, actually, most of my colonies are doubles right now, hell hive. So our goal is to keep them in tons of feed, right? And I really don't get too caught up in having all of my bees for singles for winter versus doubles. I have bees over winter and doubles extremely well here in Tennessee. What I'm kind of looking more into in the future, though, is insulative covers for winter. R10 to be specific. I've been talking to Etienne quite a bit just about the heat losses during winter. It's just astounding. And it's also the moisture that is created because for those of you who haven't heard me talk about this before, how condensation in your hives happens is because bees, just like any other creature, just like we are right now, we're creating heat and releasing water vapor in that heat. Hot weather holds more water in it. So in wintertime, you have a cluster in the core that can be 90 degrees, and all that heat's going out of that cluster. They try to hold it as best they can, but inevitably it's going to come on out. And what happens when it hits a cold lid or inner cover? Well, all of a sudden that hot air shrinks rapidly and the water is squeezed out like a towel and it collects up on that lid. And that's where you can get some moisture related issues that can rain down on your bees. However, if you have an insulated cover, well, that changes everything because now it's not hitting a really cold lid. It's kind of like having insulated windows in your house versus single paned. If you've ever seen the difference between the two, I've got single paned in this house. And so my parents used to as well. I get condensation all over my windows all the time. My parents, now they switched to double, the insulated ones have like that gas chamber on the inside to insulate them. They never get any condensation on their windows. Same thing for your bees. Insulated covers is the future. I'm telling you right now, you guys are going to see more of it in the future. And you don't have to go crazy expensive. R10 foam boards aren't that expensive. You just have to paint them really good. And I cannot wait to learn more about insulation and how that will affect our colonies, not only overwintering, but efficiently making and surviving and being more productive in summer and spring. Hey, Marianne Sears. I want to say thanks very much to you and your husband. You all donated more than almost anybody. I mean, between you and Rossman donated so much to the kid program. I was watching the videos today of these young guys and gals who are coming to the conference, 13-year-old girls, 15-year-old boys, all kinds of young beekeepers that are entering in. And you guys helped make that possible by donating to the silent auction and also that $500 donation that you added as well. So thank you so much. And I am looking forward to seeing you guys again at the West Virginia Beekeepers Fall Conference. While that is going, a lot of people have kind of groaned a little bit about me forgetting to remind them when I'm going to be somewhere if they want to meet up. So let me do that real quick. All right. So August is my time for getting my mites completely bludgeoned and getting my bees ready to go into the fall flow in September. And hopefully by September, everything will be awesome. And maybe my mind will still be together. And so in September, I will be in West Virginia, the 9th and the 10th. And I believe that's Fairmont, Virginia. I'll be posting this stuff to my Facebook and I'll post it to YouTube as well. But I need to get some links and put that down. But that's going to be a fun conference to be at. I've got a another one here. I will be in Arkansas. Some type of heritage or heirloom something. I'll post that information too. But I'll be there the 23rd and the 24th of September. So both of those are in September. I'll be in the Middle Tennessee Conference in White House, Tennessee on the 8th of October. I'll be in Joplin. No, I'll be in East Missouri on the 14th and like 15th of October for the Missouri Beekeepers Association. And then I'll be at the Joplin, Missouri Beekeepers Association on the 12th of November. And I think that is it for the year. So if you guys are anywhere near those and would like to hang out, I'll look forward to seeing you guys there. Whew. All right. I don't have any conferences in the West. yet. To be honest, I did turn one of them down because I really don't like to do a lot of meetings between June, July, and August, or really May. So I will do a little bit, but not a lot. Okay. Hey, Kamon, great channel. Had a question. Just had my workers from a spring package supersede their queen back at the end of June. Just checked 2 weeks ago to see a new queen cup filled with a larva. All right. So, Josh, what you can do if they're just now filling them with starting the queens and that they're not actually too far along developed. Oh, wait. Just checked 2 weeks ago to see a new queen. All right. So, 2 weeks. All right, 2 weeks then. Hadn't capped it yet. Honestly, I would give it another week before I go in there and see if I have a queen. Maybe 10 days. Probably wait another 10 days. If you wait 10 days and you don't have a queen, you know you don't have a queen. Excuse me. A lot of times, what I'll do in that situation, Josh, and this is just the way I do it. But if I go into a hive like that, even if it's a standard colony that's from one of my queens and they started superseding, if there's more than one cell in there, if there's like six, I'll take three here, and I'll double my chances. Sometimes I'll even divide it into three pieces if it's a massive colony. But I like to, when possible, double my chances and spread those cells around. So if one queen doesn't come back, the other one does. Just combine them back together, and I'm in good shape. Yeah, insulation's where it's at. And like 90% of the heat loss and the issues are always at the lid. You can insulate the sidewalls of the hive, and that can help too. It does. But the lid is really where it's at in the wintertime, all that heat going out the top. Ooh, all right. Wait a minute. She took my sweet potato. Oh my goodness. Yeah, really. And that's the thing, Tony Hill, is like he says, become the project farm of beekeeping. I love that guy. I don't watch enough of his videos, but I do watch a few periodically, especially when I got a question on a specific brand of tape or DeWalt battery versus Milwaukee, all that kind of stuff. Great videos, just love them. We need someone like that in beekeeping. I try to do what I can, but my problem is the state of Tennessee's pulling me to do more Tennessee stuff. Of course, I have my conference. We got hundreds of hives. I've got, let's see, I've got like $1,200 of honey to deliver tomorrow, and that's great. I'm excited about it. I love producing honey, but I've just got so many things that are pulling me away. I can't do everything, and but I can run my mouth. That's easy, really easy for me to do. So what I would like is to see more of you all do these things, and then you just let me know what cool gadgets or techniques or whatever you've come up with, and if you need help promoting it, well, that's I can do that for sure. We all have things that we can do, and flapping my mouth is one of them for sure. Jowls, that's what my grandpa said, flapping your jowls. So from Indiana, and I was curious how similar you manage bees here versus Tennessee in your month to month, and where did you get more honey per hive? Okay. So our season, our brood starts in February here. Maple, when the maple starts blooming, bees want to start going. So we'll start feeding pollen patties right around the time the maple blooms, fill in any nutritional gaps, keep them going forward. And if we get a 50, 60-degree day, we'll put sugar syrup on. I fed bees sugar syrup in late February, definitely in March. And people think that I'm crazy, but general information in this area will tell you if you do that, you'll kill your bees. I just have stronger bees apparently. So then we will in March try to keep them from swarming, because our best hives will be to the swarming point usually by the second week of March. It depends on where nature is. If it's a little warmer, then it could happen the first week of March. If it's a cooler year, it might not happen to the third or fourth week of March. So there's always a couple weeks of play in either direction. Our honey flow starts in our best yards around the first week of April, give or take again a week or two. and it's light. It hits, and we got to have supers on. Some years it's really good, but then it like stops for a little bit, and then it kind of kicks back into gear a little bit. And but once we start getting to the point of black locust, if it doesn't get frostbit, then we're off to the races. But most of our flow, I've seen a lot of data on this. I've kept my own records. I have a buddy who has all of his hives on scales. The majority of all of our honey in my location, and most locations in Tennessee, not all, most of your honey comes in 6 weeks. And I think a lot of people experience this, whether they realize it or not. Just because the bees are foraging doesn't mean it's a heavy flow. Might be a trickle coming in. They might gain a few pounds that week. There are days where they can gain like gallons of nectar on the heavy days, like blackberry blossom flow and a good black locust, tulip poplar flow, good clover flow, good basswood flow. So part of the reason I'm saying that. So I don't know exactly what part of Indiana, because southern Indiana, I'd say would be fairly similar to northern Tennessee. Northern Indiana probably be totally different. Forage wise, I used to live up in Indiana. I know some beekeepers up there, so there's a lot of similarities, but there's some different timings. But the main thing I will say for those who are wanting the big crops, this is something I learned a long time ago from a good beekeeper, is that yes, your crop comes in around 6 weeks to 2 months in most locations around the country. Some people are blessed with longer flows, but most of us have about a 6 to 8 week period of good flow. And your bees have to be strong and ready to capitalize on it. So you have to have big bees coming out of the winter, and a lot of beekeepers that are newer and don't quite manage their bees as high of a level don't run as big of clusters into winter. Therefore, they can't build up as fast coming out of winter. And if you miss 1 week, 2 weeks of early flow, well, instead of getting 100, 120 pounds a colony, you might only get 90, 60, 70 pounds, per colony, depending on how generous the year is. So, anyways, that really doesn't answer your question too much, but I would have to see kind of what you have versus what I have. Um, our dearth starts about the first, second week of June, depending on the year and how dry it is. And we've been in robbing season ever since. And let me tell you, robbing is the gift that keeps on giving. I hate it. Can't hardly get through a bee yard without just clouds of bees. You just have to be fast. That's the only way we can deal with it is be fast. Andy White, thanks for coming on. Good luck with work tomorrow. All right. Kamon, one of my weak hives was robbed. The only resource left is pollen. The queen is laying, but there's no nectar or honey. I reduced the entrance, gave them syrup. Is this hive doomed? Probably. I actually had that happen to me too, Brian. It was a colony that was a little bit weak and about 6 frames of bees, and the queen was young and doing a pretty good job. But the problem was it was in a yard with about 40 just ripped colonies of at least 2 deeps worth of bees. And that colony was just, I mean, the entrance was reduced down to about 4 inches, but apparently it was still too much. And that's where I guess a robbing screen or something could come into play. But the strong colonies are good. That one got robbed out and they were still alive, but they literally had no honey left, nothing but pollen and what little brood. But they cannibalized her brood because they didn't have enough resources to keep the hive going. So I actually picked up the hive and took it to a yard that's just mating nukes. So they're actually bigger than their competition. And I've been feeding it. And so far, so good. But it's going to be an uphill battle for that colony to get it where it needs to be going into winter. But it's really best to prevent that stuff before it happens. But there's a good chance that that colony's not going to make it. Not 100% sure. Tesla's coming out with a good vaporizer battery. All right. All right. Someone's got some honey. American's bees. Good to hear from you. How to control Asian giant hornet. So I actually, Tom, have a video interviewing Richard Noel about the Asian giant hornet and how they deal with that in France. It's a really good video. It's about an hour long, but he shows tons of pictures and how they're dealing with it in France. And and in that part of Europe. It's on my channel. If you go to our playlist, you can find a lot of these things, but I've never had to deal with it. We don't have it here in the US. So entrance reducers help to where the Asian hornets actually can't get into the colony, but you can set out traps, and there are some very good traps. I think Vita Pharma makes one, if I remember correctly, and it does a great job bringing the hornets in and killing them without killing bees. Another Buckeyes fan. I mean, I tell you, it's almost like a disease. They're just everywhere. Kamon, I've got 4 to 5 frames of honey in a few different hives that they stored after I pulled. Should I take these out, store, and replace with foundation for them to draw when I feed during dearth? Yeah. If it's honey and you want to harvest that, yank it out, put some foundations in the meantime. They probably won't draw them out during a dearth. But the main thing is you need to make sure. What I would do is extract them and get those combs in as soon as possible. But you need to feed them, because if they don't have a lot of extra feed, then you're cutting them really short. And so when I say you're taking 4 to 5 frames of honey, you probably need to feed 2 or 3 gallons of syrup back to them and then see where they're at. And maybe more than that. Some people are like, it's a lot of money to feed that sugar. But right now, sugar's in my area 48 cents a pound, something like that, a little under 50 cents. Most hobby beekeepers I know are selling their honey for 10 or more dollars a pound. So the math is pretty in your favor. Yank those suckers out. If it's honey, extract them, bottle it up, and feed your bees. And some people say it's not as good for your bees. Feeding that sugar syrup will actually help keep their guts in better shape through summer. Did you guys eat all the sweet potatoes, Laurel? Okay. Well, I know how Jimmy is. He always gets a hold of all my stuff. Hey, I want to say a big thank you to Anthony Hill. I'm assuming that's Tony Hill, who's been coming tonight, for donating to our PayPal and helping us do what we do. Thank you so much, Mr. Hill. And if you have any questions, keep on it. Though I do think my voice is wanting to leave me. We've got several companies coming to the conference with a lot of new innovative stuff for insulation too. Lots of cool stuff. New bee suits that most people have never heard of. I think they're really good ones. Lots of different things. Here's one book I want to show you guys really quick. So this is an expensive book, so I understand why a lot of people don't buy it. But for those of you who are like very new and you're wanting to go straight from beginner beekeeping to the big details, and this has good stuff for beginners in it too. I really think it's well suited. Good read. Mr. Dewey, Karen, and Lawrence Connor have put this book together. This is the 3rd edition, Honeybee Biology and Beekeeping. It's a great book. It's one of my favorite new books. I mean, it goes through just all kinds of stuff like pollen granules and how bees forage and different pollens affect forage, different flower shapes. Of course, stuff to waggle dance. I mean, this isn't beekeeping for dummies. This is beekeeping for those that want to really know bees very well and get it at a fast, accelerated rate. You've got pictures like this one right here that has worker brood mixed with drone brood, and that queen is running out of gas. She's misfiring and not fertilizing all of those eggs, and so they're turning into drones. Lots of really good information, and I think it's put together in a way that even someone who doesn't know a lot about bees can understand it and grasp it. Very good book. And so, like for bee clubs, especially that loan out books and things, anyone who loves collecting bee books, will be at our conference with Wick Wasp Press. And I'm not affiliated, so I don't get $1 for this, but this is a good book. I'm reading through it. I know a lot of the information, but there's a lot of stuff in here I don't know, and that's cool. Brian, I don't know if Wick Wasp does any electronic books. I don't know. But this book's so heavy, if you needed to defend yourself if someone invaded your house, First of all, they couldn't stab you through that book, and if you hit them over the head with it, they'd be knocked out cold. And people say that words never hurt. I tell you, no one ever got spanked by a book like I did by my mother. Ooh. Yeah, honeybee biology is what it's called in beekeeping. All right. Does Amazon have that book? I think they do have several of their books on Amazon Castle Hives. I do think that they do. And I know we've had a lot of new people come on, so I'm just going to remind you all real quick. 50K subscribers, we're fixing to hit it. We are going to have 10 vendors at least I have 10 vendors already committed to donate like $5,000 in giveaways, 2 extractors, full hive kits, um, foundation, uncapping knives, uncapping tanks, books, all kinds of different things from some of my favorite companies. Somehow Man Lake didn't make the cut. Darn it. Um, Maybe next year. Oh yeah, I'm a big fan of books. I've got 2 shelves this wide of nothing but bee books, and I'm working on a partial now. So one of these days, that whole bookcase is just gonna be nothing but bee books. Watch for scammers on your giveaway. Just saying, yeah, that's true. I'll have to watch out for that. Hmm. Laurel's pretty good about all that stuff. She's like a genius when it comes to these things. She's the one that set up this thing for me. I tried one time and then I messed it up, and people were like, Kamon, what's wrong? It's not working right. Where's the sound? Laurel was visiting her family and it took me a while to get it figured out. She just had to walk me through it. Hmm. Everyone who entered my giveaway got a scammer to contact them. Oh my goodness. I'm 2 for 2 on scammers on YouTube channels. There's a uh, just had my first rob out yesterday. Walked by and saw a pile of yellow cappings under the landing board. Yikes. Put a robbing screen on and we'll go through the hive next day. That is a sure sign of that, Tony. I hate that you saw that, but it does happen to me every year, for sure. So as far as what we've got going on, I think I've got, yeah. And I know I've had a couple people say they get tired of the conference stuff, and I'm sorry, but this is one of the easiest ways for me to communicate with the people who are wanting to come or will come in the future. Important details. So this is after you sign up and go through Ticket Tailor. Let me tell you, we have had a bunch of people just send in money and not actually fill out. So we don't like, where does this come from? Where did it come from? It's been a really big pain this year dealing with that. We'll have to do something different next year. But when you sign up and go through our website, hivelifeconference.com, you go through there, just enter your name so we can get it on the name badges. The name badges will be upgraded this year. They'll have your state on it. We don't want your full name as far as like Billy Bob Jr. the third. Okay. That's not going to fit on the name tag. Whatever people call you normally from day to day, even if your name's Timothy and you go by Tim, put that on there. But then after you fill all that out, you will get one of these sent to your email, and you need that to get into the conference. Not that we can't look you up, but it takes a lot longer. And for people who have these on their phone or a hard copy like this, we can scan you in, get you your gear, 15 seconds, baby. You are ready to rock. Oh, yeah, that's it, Laurel. So Laurel says she found the book on Amazon for the honeybee biology, and you actually can see that if you go through her link. And there's a lot of good books from Wick Wasp Press. All right. But anyways, Billy Bob, Jim, Sue. Yep, Laurel just posted link. Whew. Well, Jerome Bee Farm, it's good to see you. And folks, we got all kinds of stuff going on around here, but just trying to keep up. We got more things coming for you. I haven't posted as much videos lately, but we will be putting more out there. For those of you who are wanting to see what Thorn Manufacturing, the new USA company extractor, looks like in action, we will be the first one to bring that to you. I've been able to see it since its inception. Oh man, it is heavy duty and built to last generations, and I love it. So, but we'll see, how does it stack up in action, because that's really all that matters, right? And also, it looks like they're going to have a small 7-gallon wax melting tank in the future for smaller beekeepers who still need to be able to melt their wax very fast, but not have to buy the huge unit for professional beekeepers. All right, there's a mosquito that somehow made it through my single paned windows. I've got to take action. It's good to see you all. God bless. I hope you all are doing well with your bees. Check those mites, feed those bees, and enjoy. And we'll be in fall before too long. We're going through the gauntlet right now of sweating through our clothes, doing all the unsavory jobs of beekeeping, but grind it out, get it done, go into the winter with some good, healthy bees, and we'll see you later. And thanks for watching this live stream.